The World Cup Final is about to be played in a stadium that was never supposed to host it. On July 19th, the biggest game in football kicks off 10 miles outside Manhattan. Not in the city, not near Times Square, not anywhere close to where it was supposed to be. That's not a scheduling accident. It's the result of a political fight that New York lost 21 years ago, and almost nobody watching the final will know it happened. Here's why this matters beyond sports trivia. For more than 40 years, the Giants and Jets have shared one stadium, and that stadium isn't even in New York. MetLife Stadium, currently branded as New York, New Jersey Stadium, for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, sits in the New Jersey Meadowlands, surrounded by highways and parking lots. That's only true because a much bigger project failed first. New York tried to build an 85,000-seat stadium in the middle of Manhattan, on a platform, over active rail tracks, on some of the most expensive land on Earth. If that project had succeeded, there would be no Hudson Yards, no vessel, no edge, no billion-dollar towers where tourists take selfies today. And the World Cup Final would be happening a few blocks from Madison Square Garden, not off the New Jersey Turnpike. How does a stadium project backed by a mayor, an NFL team, and an Olympic bid just disappear and turn into $25 billion worth of glass towers instead? Here's the question I want you to keep in mind. 3 unelected officials held the power to kill this stadium with a single vote. Not voters, not the mayor, 3 people in a boardroom. Who were they? And how did they stop a project that was so heavily backed? Let's go back to the beginning. Giants Stadium opened in 1976 in the New Jersey Meadowlands, and by the 2000s, it was starting to feel like a relic. The Jets weren't just sharing it. They were tenants in their biggest rival's building and had been for decades. Mayor Michael Bloomberg saw a way out. New York wanted the 2012 Olympics, and to win the bid, the city needed a signature venue. So he backed a stadium on the West Side Yard, a 26-acre active rail depot on the Hudson River, between 30th and 33rd Street. The design firm Cohn Peterson Fox didn't think small. A retractable roof, 85,000 seats, and a convention hall built into the base large enough to double the Javits Center next door. This was never just a football stadium. It was the anchor for the last major undeveloped stretch of land in Manhattan, which meant the moment it got announced, it became a target. Because 10 blocks away, a man who ran the city's biggest arena was watching every headline. Every infrastructure fight has people with something to lose. In this one, that person was James Dolan, the owner of Madison Square Garden. Dolan saw the proposed West Side Stadium as a direct competitor for concerts, conventions, and major live events, just a few blocks from his own arena. His company, Cablevision, responded with a $600 million counterbid to redevelop the site as housing and offices instead, with no stadium at all. Public backlash over the closed-door Jets deal forced the MTA into an open bidding process. 3 bidders emerged: the Jets, Cablevision, and an energy company called Transgas. In March 2005, the MTA board still selected the Jets, even though Cablevision offered more cash up front. Critics called it political favoritism toward Governor Pataki, who strongly backed the project. Dolan wasn't finished. Cablevision launched an aggressive television, newspaper and radio campaign warning that a stadium on Manhattan's West Side would create permanent traffic congestion, overwhelm the neighborhood, and waste taxpayer money. Whether those warnings were sincere or strategic depends on who you ask. But one fact is difficult to ignore. Every concert, convention, and major event booked into a new Manhattan stadium was one that might never reach Madison Square Garden. This wasn't just a fight over a football stadium, it was a fight over who controlled Manhattan's live entertainment business. Now back to that question I asked at the start. Who actually killed it? The stadium needed 2 things from the state: $300 million in public funding and approval to transfer the MTA's land. Both required sign-off from a body called the Public Authorities Control Board. Only 3 people sat on it: 1 for the governor, 1 for the assembly speaker, 1 for the Senate majority leader. The rule was brutal. The vote had to be unanimous, 1 abstention, and the project was dead. On June 6, 2005, the governor's man voted yes. The other 2 abstained. Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver led the opposition. His public argument: New York was still rebuilding Lower Manhattan after 9/11, and state money shouldn't go to a football stadium instead. Senate Majority Leader Joseph Bruno backed him. No public referendum, no city council vote. Two men, acting through proxies, killed an 85,000-seat stadium and New York's Olympic bid in a single afternoon. A month later, the IOC gave the 2012 Games to London. Here's the irony nobody puts together. Silver killed the stadium because it looked like a bad real estate deal for the city. In 2015, he was arrested, convicted of steering millions in benefits to real estate interests in exchange for illegal payments. The man who stopped a real estate deal for the state went to prison for one of his own. That doesn't mean Silver opposed the stadium to build Hudson Yards later. Nobody knew in 2005 what the site would become. But it's hard to unsee once you know it. In American infrastructure, the biggest projects don't die from public opposition. They die when a handful of people holding procedural veto power decide they will. But what happened next was even stranger. The stadium died in June 2005. The land didn't stay empty. It didn't stay a rail yard. Today it's arguably the most valuable 26 acres in North America. So what got built there instead? And who ended up designing it? Kohn Pedersen Fox, the firm that designed the stadium, didn't walk away when the project died. They came back, this time to design the master plan for the entire site, what we now call Hudson Yards. KPF designed 10, 20, 30 and 55 Hudson Yards, some of the tallest towers on the site. Look at what actually stands on that 26 acres today. Thomas Heatherwick's vessel, the Edge Observation Deck, the Shed, a cultural centre by Dilla Scofidio plus Renfro, Meta's New York offices, the northern terminus of the High Line, luxury residences and high-end retail stretching for blocks. The same architects who lost the stadium fight ended up building something bigger than the stadium ever would have been. What rose there instead of a stadium is now the largest private real estate development in US history, projected at $25 billion in construction costs. The financing tells its own story. The city spent roughly $2.4 billion extending the No. 7 subway just to reach the site. Related companies, the developer behind Hudson Yards, also received an estimated $6 billion in public investments and tax incentives. So the stadium's failure didn't stop redevelopment. It just replaced a public stadium, built partly with public money, with a private neighborhood subsidized by public money. New York didn't reject big spending on the West Side. It rejected big spending on a stadium and approved even bigger spending on office towers and condos. The harder question isn't whether the stadium failed, it's whether New York made the right call. Hudson Yards generates roughly $500 million a year in city tax revenue, according to developer estimates. That's the number the city likes to cite. Here's the number it doesn't. A new school study found the project actually cost city residents an additional $2.2 billion in taxes, despite being sold to the public as self-financing. So New York didn't reject public spending on the West Side. It rejected a stadium that would have cost the state $300 million and approved a private development that ended up costing residents 7 times that. Meanwhile, the Jets gave up on Manhattan entirely. They partnered with the Giants and built a shared stadium in the Meadowlands instead, designed by Ewing Cole and Rockwell Group, opened in 2010 at a cost of $1.6 billion, funded entirely with private money. That stadium is MetLife Stadium, the one hosting the World Cup Final on July 19th. Even getting it ready for FIFA wasn't simple. The turf had to be torn out for natural grass. The field had to be widened, forcing changes to the seating bowl. Like the stadium it replaced, MetLife wasn't actually built for this moment either. The failure of the public stadium didn't stop development on the West Side, it accelerated it. The loss produced Hudson Yards. The win would have produced one stadium. So did New York make the right decision? 21 years later, the answer depends on what you think a city owes the people who actually live in it. Because this was never really about football. It was about who gets to decide what a city becomes, and who ends up paying for that decision. And that same battle over who controls New York is still being fought today. This time, the fight isn't over a stadium, it's over the busiest train station in America. Once again, James Dolan sits at the centre of a project that could reshape Manhattan for generations. That's the story of Penn Station's $8 billion redevelopment, and why one private landowner may still hold the power to decide its future. Click here to watch it next, because the biggest infrastructure projects aren't ultimately decided by concrete or steel. They're decided by who controls the city.